My name is Marc Knauss. I work right down here in Bellevue at Decker Retirement Planning. I'm a certified financial planner. I've been an advisor for 13 years, or in the industry for 13 years, maybe advising for 10 or 11 years. So I'm gonna talk kind of about two phases of wealth. The first phase is the accumulation phase of wealth for younger clients and people that are just starting out the wealth building process, or maybe even early career phase. That's a very different conversation than for people that are in retirement or near in retirement and that are actually closer to the distribution phase of life. So you have your accumulation phase of life. This is where you're building assets, you're building knowledge, you're getting your feet under you, and then you've got kind of early stage, mid stage, late stage career. But then there's the distribution phase, and risk is totally different in both of those phases, right? If you have a $10,000 portfolio and you're making 401k contributions every two weeks, then if the market crashes, it's no big deal, right? Because your income is coming from your wages and you're making 401k contributions, so you're actually buying into the market at lower prices. You can sail through those market events. But now you're retired, now your portfolio is your paycheck, and you have to treat risk very differently when that's the case. So I'm gonna first talk about the accumulation phase of life, some basic concepts there, and then I'm gonna get into the distribution phase. So I'm just gonna reference my slide, and I apologize that the font is so small. But here you can see kind of four phases of a career. There's the exploration phase, right? This is you get your degree, you get your certifications, or you graduate high school, and you're just seeing what's out there. And you're kind of getting an idea of how this all works, where you fit in, and this is really, you're trying to build your education, you're trying to build your network. Not a lot of finances here. If you have debt, let's really focus on getting out of debt. That's really the main focus, and also building up your emergency fund. Now you get into a career. Now you land where you want to go and you start moving forward in that career. This is going to be your early entry level. Let's try to get out of debt completely. Now you've got a regular paycheck coming in. Let's get that emergency fund built up. Let's get out of debt, start doing the Dave Ramsey stuff, right? The baby steps here, bam, bam, right? Then we start, I am a big proponent of an opportunity fund. I think for a lot of people, they go straight to putting money into retirement accounts, and they don't have enough money set aside for what I call an opportunity fund. Life happens between 25 and 59 and a half. And if all your money's in a retirement account, you can't get to it, well, that's what the opportunity fund is for. I want you to buy a house. I want you to go on vacations. I want you to buy the boat, you know, all that fun stuff. Well, if you're writing your 401k to get to do that stuff, then it's not the best. So now you're mid-career. Mid-career, this is kind of where I'm at, right? I'm 45 years old. I've done the entry level. I've got my certifications. I'm grounded in my career. Now I'm focused on asset allocation. I've got my emergency fund. I'm out of debt. Now I'm putting money into my 401ks. Now I'm buying a house. Now maybe I'm buying some gold and silver or whatever. I'm accumulating assets, and I'm doing this wisely, and I'm finding deals. Then you move on. Oh, and also, by the way, your kid has to go to college. Luke, not so much, but my oldest boy, Jonah, he wants to go to college, so I have to do some college planning along that line there too. Now it's late career. Now I'm in my 50s and I've got a 10-year time horizon, 15-year time horizon, and I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm more of a mentor right? Now I'm not only learning and building my network, but I'm sharing what I know with people, and I'm helping people come up to where I am. And this is what I'm looking forward to. But hopefully at this time, I've accumulated the assets that I want, and really it's retirement planning. Now I need to get all my ducks in a row, because when I do cross that threshold, I want to make sure that I'm set. So I start planning for retirement. I know what my budget is. I know what my mortgage is, how much longer I have to pay my mortgage. I know how Medicare works. I start doing these kind of conversations, right? So for the accumulation phase of life, and this is really for the younger people just getting started out, so hopefully this helps. I kind of put some steps to this. Number one, let's get you out of debt. I do not want debt coming with you into adulthood. This is, if you listen to any financial advisors out there, they're gonna harp on debt, because it is an anchor around your neck. You can't go on missions trips if you've got debt. You can't do life adventures if you've got debt. You can't, it's very hard to get married and enter into a relationship if your future spouse has debt. So I don't want that around your neck at all. Oh, sorry, can you go back? Emergency fund, Dave Ramsey says $1,000. I think that's way too little. I like to see somewhere in the neighborhood of $3,000 to $5,000 1 month of emergency fund. Here, specifically in the Pacific Northwest area, you're looking about $3,000 to $5,000. So that's 1 month. If you're looking at a full 3 to 6 months, you're looking at $15,000 to $30,000. 15 should get you through. 15 should be enough, and then when you get further on into asset accumulation mid-career, you can kind of round that out to the full 6 months. Insurance, this is life insurance, homeowners insurance, auto insurance, umbrella insurance. If you don't know what umbrella insurance is, low-hanging fruit. For about $200-300 a year, this provides $1 million of liability coverage for you. I recommend umbrella insurance for everybody. I think it's easy to get, and everybody should have it. I mentioned the opportunity fund. That can also be, in addition to your 3 to 6 months reserve. Now you get into home purchase, right? In order to buy a house, you got to come with 20% down payment, right? That's why you have the opportunity fund. I want you to make sure that you have the money set aside to get your foot in the door. I mean, I know buying a house around here is rough. If you're young trying to buy a house around here, it is tough. But that's the hustle, and sometimes you gotta be creative in how you do it, but there's ways to do it. And then you move into asset accumulation. Now you've got the house, now let's get the kids off to college, now let's start putting money into the Roth IRAs, the 401ks, all that stuff. Let's start building for future accumulation. All right. So when we talk about assets, what assets do you buy? We are looking specifically at anything, especially in the young phase. I mentioned risk is your friend in the young phase. You're making new purchases, right? You're making 401k contributions. So risk is a good thing when you're young. If you buy into, say, Microsoft stock and it goes down in value, you didn't lose, you just get an opportunity to buy it again at a lower price. If you liked it at $300 a share, well, maybe you like it at $250 a share. Yeah. So I encourage you, don't be scared of risk. Risk is a good thing over the long term, because over the long term, markets tend to go up, assets tend to go up in value, and just embrace that philosophy. So I've got stocks up here, precious metals. A lot of people are very comfortable with precious metals. I would say they're not as safe as most people say they are, and they're not necessarily an inflation hedge like everybody says they are. They're a store of value, and I'm kind of a gold bug. I like precious metals. I keep some in my safe at home, but I'm not going all in on precious metals. Real estate is a great investment. I know thousands of people that have made their money on real estate. So I think the Federal Reserve had a study that said over the long term, both equities and real estate tend to perform 4 to 6% above inflation over the long term. So I like real estate and I like equities. Starting your own business. If you are entrepreneurial, most people don't understand that that's valuable. Having your own business is incredibly valuable, but you have to find a way to monetize that on the back end. You can't just work and work and work and work and earn a paycheck, and then on the back end, when it comes time to retire, you don't have a way to monetize that business. So make sure you're thinking about that as you're building this business. Who's gonna buy it? How are they gonna buy it? Is it gonna be a finance sell, a bootstrap buyout? Are you going to, I don't know. There's a number of ways to exit a business and monetize that, but it's important that you consider it. All right. I am a financial advisor. I make my money by managing money, so I'm gonna get into the portfolio side of it now. I'm gonna talk about account types. Now, there's basically 3 account types. There's going to be what's called a non-retirement account, or sometimes it's called a taxable account, or another name for it is what's called a non-qualified account. So those are the 3 terms that you'll hear thrown around. Usually this is owned by either you individually or you and your spouse as a joint account, or if you have a trust, your trust can own this account. But either way, you can invest in it. If there's capital gains or if there's dividends and interest, it's taxed to you in the year that you receive the gains or the dividends or the interest. That's what they mean by taxable. It's taxable upon realization. These are great liquidity vehicles. If, for instance, I mentioned that opportunity fund, this is a great spot for the 3 to 6 month emergency opportunity fund, or if you just want to have money liquid to you, this is a great vehicle for that. The next one is tax deferred. Everybody here, I'm sure, is very familiar with the IRA, the 401k, the 403b. With these accounts, you put money into them and you get a tax deduction when you put the money in. So the year I put $5,000 into my IRA, Uncle Sam says, thank you very much, good job, I'm proud of you. I'm going to give you a deduction on your taxes in that year. Now, if I'm 20 years old and I'm making $30,000 a year, do I need a tax deduction? The answer is no, I don't. I'm already in a very low tax bracket. I would much rather have that $5,000 go into an investment where it can grow for 30 years tax-free. Young people should focus on the Roth. When you get into that mid-career and that late-stage career, chances are you're in your peak income earning years. This is the most income you're going to be making your entire life. That's where the tax deduction makes the most sense, right? Now you're in the 24 or 30% tax bracket. Make the 401k contributions, get the tax deduction, anything you can do to reduce your taxes, you kind of get the most bang for your buck. But Roth dollars are precious leading up to your peak income earning years. And then in retirement, say you retire at 60 or 65 years old and you don't start Social Security till you're 70, you can do Roth conversions in retirement while you're in a lower income tax bracket. So Roth is very important. I want you to have Roth dollars, but I also want you to be strategic with your IRA dollars and your tax deferred stuff. So I mentioned the Roth. The Roth, really a really nice legacy planning tool as well. With the IRA, when you pass away, your children or your beneficiaries have to take that out over a 10-year period. So if they are in their peak income earning years and they inherit an IRA, guess what? now they're paying massive taxes on those distributions. So if they inherit a Roth, that's all tax-free. So that's beautiful to pass your beneficiaries a Roth IRA. All right, this is a fun exercise. I'm sure you guys have seen this before, but I did a Jack and Jill scenario, right? Jack and Jill went up the hill. How long or how well do they save and invest? So Jack starts out by investing $5,000 a year from age 25 to 35, and then he says, I'm done. That's it. No more contributions to his portfolio. Jill isn't able to do that. She's not able to start saving until she's 35. She has to put in $7,000 a year from age 35 to age 65 just to catch up to Jack. That's assuming 8% interest, so I have my little disclosure down there. Total contributions to the portfolio made by Jack, $55,000. Jack only puts in $55,000, and over a 40-year time period, he ends up with $800,000. Jill, on the other hand, waits 10 years, has to put in $210,000 just to catch up with Jack. Starting early and getting a good growth rate of return is critical when you're talking about long-term savings. All right, risk and reward. I kind of touched on this, but I'm just showing you two different life phases, right? I've got the young guy who's buying Bitcoin and he's buying crypto and he's buying meme stocks and he's having a blast, right? And then I've got a retiree couple here and they see a 5% drop in their portfolio and it freaks them out, thinking maybe their financial plan doesn't work anymore. So risk can be your friend on the accumulation side, but risk can be devastating on the distribution phase. And then vice versa. If you're too conservative in the growth stage, it means you have to save so much more to get to where you want. You need that high growth rate, right? But on the back end, once you've made your wealth, now you're millionaires and you've got your wealth bucket grown, that money needs to sustain you through a 30-year period. You need to be very cautious, right? And you need to make sure that you're reducing risk. So now I'm gonna get into the distribution phase of life. The accumulation side is fun. That's always like, oh, compound interest, that's really cool. Now when we're talking distribution phase of life, and this is where having a plan comes into place. So in retirement, there's basically three considerations you need to look at. Your fixed income sources, what do you know is going to be coming in every month? This is your Social Security, this is your pension. If you have rental income is a good source of fixed income, right? And there's strategies around each one of those. How do you optimize your fixed income sources? Then you have your portfolio income. This is money coming to you from your pre-tax, from your Roth, and from your taxable account, your trust account, or your joint account, or your individual account. So what you want to do is kind of blend all of those distributions so that you're targeting specific, specific tax rates, or you can do a strategy of let's draw down this tax bucket first, then we'll draw down this tax bucket second, then we'll draw down this tax bucket third. If you do that, I recommend drawing down your taxable account first, keeping you in a low AGI, your adjusted gross income is lower, and that way you can do some Roth conversions on the back end. So you run your taxable income down as low as you can for a few years and then do Roth conversions in the meantime. And then once you're done drawing down your taxable income, then you draw down your IRA dollars and you preserve the Roth for as long as possible because that's where you're getting your tax-free growth. And then how do you pay for the trips to Disneyland? How do you pay for the family vacations and the boat and the new car? That's going to come from the portfolio and emergency fund. That's liquidity, so you want to make sure that in addition to your planned income every month, you're holding money aside for those bigger expenses. I have landed on what's called a bucket strategy. Has anybody heard of a bucket strategy before? Yes. So a bucket strategy is a way of building out your portfolio for short-term, medium-term, and long-term expenses. Short-term stuff, I want to be liquid and available to you when you need it. So think 1 to 3 year money. This is money markets, CDs, checking and savings, high yield bank accounts. This is money that you can get to when you need it, liquid. The second piece is what's called your medium-term bucket. This is, call it maybe 3 to 10 year money. CDs can fit in there, like a 3-year CD or a 5-year CD. That's a good option for it. But also some longer term stuff, maybe more stable, maybe principal guaranteed, but with good upside growth. If you're gonna put something in a 5 or 10 or year strategy, you wanna make sure that you're getting market-like or near market-like returns in that money, because that's a long time for that money to be invested. And then long-term growth, this is 10-year plus money, and you can be more risk-on with this. Just because you're retired doesn't mean you can't have a growth component to your portfolio. So I want that long-term growth to be there because inflation. We don't know what inflation is 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And if you get into a fixed income solution for retirement, that doesn't account for inflation. So you end up losing purchasing power over the long term. Make sense? Cool. Oh yeah, just going back to the investment account types, wanted to touch real quickly on the taxes on distributions here. The IRA, anything that's pre-tax, the government gives you a tax deduction to put the money in. Guess what? They say, all right, you've deferred long enough, now you owe us. Now Uncle Sam needs to collect his pound of flesh, so you gotta start taking your required minimum distributions. Somewhere between age 72 and 75, you have to start taking money out of those accounts, even if you don't want to. So that's another reason why we do the Roth conversions. So Roth accounts don't have required minimum distributions. Good, all right, thanks. All right, distribution steps. Oh, okay, so I put this up here. I thought this was really interesting. This is by no means the end-all be-all types of investments for these different risk buckets, but I wanted to give you an idea of what types of things are risk-free or principal guaranteed, what types of things are more stable, and what types of things I would consider risk with significant downside risk, but also significant upside growth potential. So in the principal guaranteed, this is anything that cannot lose money. This is cash, savings accounts, high yield savings accounts, CDs, but also things like a fixed annuity, which is a CD from an insurance company, or a fixed indexed annuity, which is kind of a funky product out there. It's built on the chassis of a fixed annuity, but it can invest in different indexes. So that's a good solution for medium-term money. Stable money can lose, you can lose money in a bond fund, right? If interest rates go up, that bond fund can lose value because there's this inverse relationship with interest rates and bond funds. But for the most part, they're pretty stable. Another thing that's out there is a variable annuity with an income rider on it. So if you buy into this, hold it for 10 years, you can start drawing income on it for the rest of your life. That's a pretty stable investment strategy. Structured products and buffered index annuities, again, it gets pretty complicated what's out there, but these basically limit your downside or guarantee no downside risk. And then when we talk about long-term risk, we're talking about stocks, real estate, commodities, mutual funds, exchange-traded funds, things that most people are familiar with, but these are things that you can buy into, invest in as you go. Good. All right. So we've already touched on a number of the other considerations, but I wanted to just make sure that you are thinking about these, that you're having the conversations around these, making notes about how all this stuff works as a comprehensive plan. When do you pay for these? How do you pay for these? Where does the money come from? Just make sure that these discussions are being had. So what happens if the stock market crashes? Are you okay? How much risk are you taking in your portfolio? That's always something to consider. Estate planning. Nick is going to come up here and talk through wills, power of attorney, healthcare directives, your trust, critical stuff. You do not leave your beneficiaries a mess. Don't leave your beneficiaries a mess, please. Sorry, can you go back? So long-term care, inflation, taxes, home equity. You hear this all the time that our biggest piggy bank is our home. When do you tap into that piggy bank? Usually it's in retirement, but when and how? And you know, there's sell and downsize, or maybe there's a home equity line of credit, or maybe there's a reverse mortgage. There's a ton of ways to tap into the equity in your home, but everybody always talks about buying a home, paying off the mortgage. Nobody ever talks about tapping into that piggy bank. So it's a good conversation. And then I put this last piece up here, the dad writing the check to the kids. There are moocher kids, right? There are kids who are dependent on their retiree parents. You don't want that. We always tell clients, make sure that you put your oxygen mask on first before your kids, because it's very important that you are okay, and then help your kids out. Good. And then the last side of things. So just some final thoughts here. Have a plan. Have these discussions, put it down on paper. How are you going to do this? Map out your income. What are your fixed income sources? What are your variable income sources? Make a budget. Have a budget in retirement. Factor the risks. Be open to different ideas. I mentioned a reverse mortgage, and some people that's scary, like, oh, I don't want to do that, but it's a good solution for some people. So don't be scared to at least be open to something like that. Have real conversations. Your beneficiaries, your agents, your healthcare directive and your power of attorney, your agents, they need to know what your expectations are. They need to know, what is it that you want me to do? Thank you for giving me the power, but what do you want me to do? So that's really important. Be intentional. Don't wander into retirement accidentally. Do this intentionally, do it the right way, be thoughtful about it, have strategies like Roth conversions and estate planning and legacy planning. All of those things, those are fun things that people get to do, but they have to be intentional with it. So that's it. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Question?
Oh, I didn't ask, sorry. All right. Yeah. Good question. So if it's still in your, say it's a 403B, if it's in a 403B or 457, each plan is a little different. So your plan needs to allow what's called an in-service rollover. And if you have the ability to do an in-service rollover, then you'll be able to. Otherwise, if you're over 59 and a half, a lot of times the plan will allow you to roll that money out of your retirement plan into an IRA. You own that IRA. You can do whatever you want with that. So you can do Roth conversions with an IRA to a Roth IRA by rolling it out of the retirement plan. I recommend withholding tax on the distribution. I mean, it's more optimal if you can pay for the tax outside and leave as much money in the Roth as possible. That's the optimal solution, but most people don't have the money to cover the expense of the tax on the distribution. Say you do a $20,000 Roth conversion, right? Well, now in April, when you file your taxes, you've got to come up with $4,000 or $5,000 to cover that tax. Most people don't have that money just sitting around, so we recommend let's just withhold the tax on the rollover. But if you have the money to pay for it outside, then that's more optimal. Yeah. Oh, I thought you had a question. Any other questions? Oh, okay. Good stuff. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Love it.